Good morning. My name is Neha Wattas, and I'm the head of strategy in the corporate development group at JP Morgan Payments. And really, that is just a mouthful to say that in my job, I get to live in the future, specifically in the future of payments. In my job, I look at those big structural shifts that are fundamentally changing commerce and payments for the next decade. And then, based on those theses, I lead investments and acquisitions in fintechs that are innovating in those value pools. So, let's talk about the future of payments. 10 years ago, the famous tech investor Mark Andreessen said, software is eating the world. Now we say, payments are eating the world. Why do we say that? Well, back in 2010, the fastest way to get money on the same day from New York to London was to fly there yourself. Now we can make secure international payments in seconds at virtually no cost. Payments are really becoming the new connective tissue of the world. And the next decade of payments promises to be an even more transformational experience than this last decade. It promises to connect the physical and the digital economies and morph payments from being that last step at checkout to being an enjoyable and even invisible experience, which is why we believe that payments are eating the world. Now, innovation in payments happens very fast. So we created at JP Morgan a proprietary framework that helps us think about all of this rapid change and complexity in this space. And it's called Power Plus, POWER. And it stands for platforms, online, wallets, embedded, real time, and to tie it all together, the value added services. All right, so let's start with platforms. How are platforms shaping the future of payments? Guys, app fatigue is real. You know what I mean? There's actually, did you know there were 2 million apps in the Apple App Store? How do you choose which one you want? The average adult has 80 apps on their phone but uses only 9 on a daily basis. Guess what? Super apps come to the rescue. And these super apps are really platforms of platforms, and they can provide virtually any product or service under the sun that a consumer could want or need. It could be lifestyle, it could be financial. Now, consumers can access and pay products and experiences without ever having to leave the app. Think about it. This is an app you never have to leave. Just swipe and tap. One of the best examples of this type of an app is the Chinese super app WeChat, which I'm sure most of you have heard about. For millions of users, WeChat is like the gateway to the internet, and its superpower comes from its depth and breadth of knowledge on its users. Without being too creepy, WeChat understands what you read, what you watch, what you eat, and do. And it can leverage those insights to provide insightful recommendations as well as experiences. Merchants can also benefit from this sheer scale and distribution of a super app and avoid investing in expensive critical infrastructure. So really, these platforms are this next evolution of platforms, meaning we are now seeing unparalleled aggregation of supply and demand, and it's greater than the sum of its parts. All right. Let's talk about the O in our power, which is online. How are online payments shaping our future? Well, in the past few years, three trends have really shaped online payments. It's the ongoing rise of e-commerce that we all live and breathe every day, the growing need for digital identity solutions, and the changing labor force. So let's start with e-commerce. right? If shopping malls dominated the 20th century, then surely digital malls will and are dominating the 21st century. And because of the pandemic, 5 trillion in global retail sales is shifting online. And e-commerce continues to shift to consolidated marketplaces. This means that more people are shopping online. And guess what? Those people who never used to shop online and went online because of COVID have realized that actually it doesn't really suck. They see themselves going back again and again. So, again, these are shifts that are structural, not cyclical. Now, as more and more of these people are shopping online and transacting online, more and more people are also looking to keep their digital identities secure. This means that when you are online, you want to know that the party that you are transacting with is actually who they say they are, right? Because in this brave new world, you could be interacting with a connected car, as we'll talk about. You could be talking to somebody's fridge. You could be interacting with an avatar on a Roblox virtual world. So again, it's a brave new world, right? And if you think about it, on average, an internet user in America, and I would argue in other developing parts of the world, has 150 accounts requiring passwords. 150. And I have to tell you, I don't know about you, but I don't have 150 passwords because I can clearly not even keep 5 of them in my head. So, what I'm trying to say is that today, our experience of online credentials is very, very fragmented. And about 80% of us report being very or somewhat concerned about the privacy and the security of our data. This is where digital IDs come in, right? They're an accurate and secure way to recognize who you're transacting with online and build this new framework of trust. And guess what? It's a really big market. It's already a 210 billion market with a 19% growth rate. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if we all had just one single identity that we could use to make bank payments, access our health records, claim loyalty records, go online with, play video games with, right? Wouldn't that be great? And wouldn't it be even better if, as we did this, we had full control over our credential data? But you know what this means, right? This means that governments, healthcare companies, NGOs, and tech companies all understand this opportunity and are clamoring to operate what I call the identity layer. However, we believe that banks like JP Morgan have that unique combination of trust and ubiquity really needed to lead in this space. Because really think about it, digital identity solutions by nature will require a financial layer. And customers already trust their banks to safely handle financial data. All right, moving on beyond e commerce, let's talk about the state of labor changes. As more and more people are going online, more and more people are reimagining how they might make a living online. Now, last year, the gig economy was valued at $300 billion and projected to grow to 455 by 2023. Historically, gig workers have had very different needs than traditional workers: lower savings, volatile incomes, unique tax needs, and the need to get paid quickly. And fintech has been a real game changer for the gig worker. However, what's even more exciting and more disruptive is that fast approaching the gig economy, which, believe it or not, is already a decade old, is the new creator economy. If the gig economy was about monetizing commodity skills online and finding jobs through algorithms, the creator economy is about monetizing your individuality, monetizing your uniqueness, monetizing your passion. And even though it's just come on the scene, it's only been a year or two, it's already one third the size of the gig economy with an estimated 100 billion size in US dollars. And even more telling is that 2 million creators earned six-figure incomes in 2020. And one of them is only 9 years old. This is the brave new world that we live in. But what does that mean? What this really means is that every professional creator, as these creators go from being amateurs to professionals, every professional creator is a small business. Every creator is a small business. Just think about that. And every small business has very specific needs. But these creator businesses, these solopreneurs, these people with passion projects, they have very specific business needs and they need very specific tools. And now they don't need the big platforms anymore because they like to interact with their fans directly. So, to meet all of these demands, what's happening is that a new ecosystem of specialized players is emerging that may force these established platforms to unbundle. In other words, big tech platforms may retain most of the creator economy today, but tomorrow the ecosystem will be much more specialized. So these are just some of the ways in which online payments are shaping the future. Let's talk about the W in our power framework, which is wallets. Now, traditionally, wallets stored physical money, but that definition is expanding. Wallets are becoming more and more essential. In fact, when we did our research on super apps, we looked at 24 super apps all over the world. And guess what? 22 out of those 24 super apps had their own wallet. So the wallet has become this central place, this starting point from which commerce can occur. In fact, research shows that by 2025, US wallets alone, and I'm talking just about US wallets, could represent a 4.6 trillion market. And that, in addition to money, right, they will store tickets, receipts, identity credentials, maybe even your health records, making wallets more and more like the super apps. And this is because we're not just transforming how we store money and use our money. The fascinating thing is that we are totally disrupting the concept of money itself. In today's economy, as you know, money takes multiple forms. You have traditional, you have fiat, you have crypto, you have stablecoin, gaming tokens, so much more. Let's look at crypto. With blockchain, we are transforming the concept of money being stored in a traditional bank account. It really is revolutionary. Think about it. As of February this year, 2021, there were 68 million blockchain wallet users globally. And that is only expected to skyrocket as more institutions start to accept crypto. Another beautiful example is stablecoins. Now, stablecoins, as you all know, are cryptocurrencies that are pegged to other assets, like the US dollar, for example. Now, the fascinating thing about the growth here is that it took 5 years for stablecoins to reach a supply of 6 million, but only 4 months in 2020 for that supply to double. So that shows you the exponential rate at which the adoption of these cryptocurrencies and stablecoins is going. Now, the only word of caution here is that yes, there's lots of excitement, there's lots of speculation, but there are still many barriers to wider adoption. And one of those barriers is high price volatility. Obviously, if we want to adopt a broader currency, it needs to be somewhat stable. And there still are issues around speed, scalability, and security of blockchain networks, but a lot of excellent innovation is happening in this space. And so we should watch and wait on the sidelines, but also participate. Now, this is where I think we must innovate more and more. So together, these are just some of the ways in which wallets are transforming the future of payments. I'd like to now talk about the E in our power framework, right? POWER. E stands for embedded. How are embedded payments reshaping the future? When we say embedded, I know it's a somewhat overused word, right? But when we talk about embedded, what we really mean is that embedded payments just allow consumers to make financial transactions anytime, anywhere, using connected devices or from within a software. Some of the exciting examples that we will cover here will include connected cars, wearables, the metaverse or virtual worlds, and so much more. So let's start with connected cars. Now, by 2030, almost 95% of all vehicles sold will be connected cars. And these cars will bring with them a treasure trove of data. And this data has been valued by McKinsey at $450 billion by 2030. This data will include everything from driving patterns to online interactions and offer service industries the ability to better serve their customers. Still, we have yet to see who will best monetize this data. Because OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers or the car makers, are not traditionally software companies, and they have struggled. But what we are seeing is this very, very exciting rise in car data marketplaces. So these are like the plaids, but for car data. And these companies are really, really good at taking this really rich data that the automakers have and building APIs around them and creating those pipes of connectivity between the OEMs on one side and the service providers on the other side. And that's your marketplace. So, what does this marketplace look like, right? Well, this marketplace is really all about convenience and incentivization because ultimately the car data is mostly owned by the driver, right? Some of it is owned by the automaker, but mostly it's owned by the drivers. So, how do we incentivize drivers to really share this car data, right? And it all comes down to how beautiful that experience is when you're in the car, how well thought out that marketplace is, how relevant those offers are that you get as you're driving your car on the highway and you see that your favorite coffee shop is 3 miles away and your car just recommends and it knows the kind of coffee you like and it asks you through a voice assistant whether you'd like that coffee or not, and places the order for you and pays for that order through your wallet, which is in your car. That's what I'm talking about, that your car is no longer a car. Your car is a wallet on four wheels. And what you can do on top of that is really drive that loyalty, right? So you could take that wallet and send rewards to these users in that wallet, which is just a virtuous cycle of loyalty. The more rewards you earn, the more you spend, and the more this data, car data marketplace functions is a full economy. But again, it boils down to convenience and incentivization. All right, enough about cars. Let's move on to wearables, right? Another embedded payment we're watching is wearables, even though I'm wearing an analog watch, a little bit old fashioned. However, I think we can all relate to what wearables are, right? Those hands free gadgets that really send and receive data via the internet or via Bluetooth. So, really, what that means is you can ditch your cash and card and pay for your good with the flick of a wrist. And this is not a joke. I mean, this is actually real. And I was myself surprised when I saw the numbers recently, right? That revenue in wearables reached 4 billion in 2020. And the number of wearables worldwide is actually expected to grow to over 1.1 billion. In a world with a population of 7 billion, 1.1 billion wearables seems like a lot of wearables. But again, this just shows how quickly these new embedded technologies and these new embedded payments are being adopted. And as the merchant and consumer adoption continues to rise in this space, we believe that the opportunities for issuers will only become more and more significant. A related concept to wearables is the Internet of Things, also called IoT. And the same idea goes around here, right? These connected devices share data and communicate over the internet. And guess what? They already outnumber smartphones and laptops, like Samsung's Family Hub, which allows users to order products, shop, and pay for groceries all from their refrigerator. And I know that these are examples that have been talked about for a long time, right? The smart refrigerator. But now, with the convergence of all of these different forces, that technology is finally scalable. We finally have 5G speeds. We finally have the cloud computing capability. And it's that convergence of all of these forces that is making these things real, which is why IoT devices, like I said, have outnumbered smartphones and laptops. All right. Moving on. So, this is a really interesting one, and it's one of my favorite ones. Let's talk about virtual worlds. Now, what are virtual worlds? Virtual worlds are sort of like the real world, but they're like a computer simulated, alternate space that lives online, where users can go and spend time, and they can communicate with other users via avatars. I don't know how many of you are into gaming, but if you take the example of Second Life, right? Second Life was started 18 years ago, and it has a community of millions of users. And they live in this world where they build homes, they make friends, they run businesses. Sometimes they even get married, all in the virtual world. And to top it all, they have a fully functioning economy. They have their own currency. It's called Linden dollars that they can convert into US dollars. And as I talked about the fully functioning economy, Second Life has a GDP of $600 million today. And when you combine all of these virtual worlds with augmented reality and virtual reality, what you get are these interactive third spaces where you might have ads, you might have subscription based services, and you have a robust payment system. And that's what this whole concept of the metaverse is all about, right? There's so much hype about the metaverse, especially since Facebook decided to change its name to Meta. However, there is not going to be a metaverse if there is not a solid payments backbone for this metaverse that makes sure that these payments are secure, that they are legitimate, that these third spaces are not misused. So we're very excited about this space, and it's a huge opportunity. ARK Invest estimates that the virtual worlds are supposed to be around $390 billion in terms of revenue by 2025. So these are just some of the examples of how embedded payments are shaping your future and shaping my future and our kids' future. Because trust me, we might live in the virtual world or in the real world, but I'm sure that the next generation will be a native of the virtual world. All right. So, lastly, let's talk about the last letter of our power framework, which is R, which stands for real time. So, how are real time payments shaping the future? Well, the demand for real time payments is just skyrocketing, right? Businesses want to make payments across borders instantly. Workers want to send remittances to their home countries, and customers want to transact online instantly. This means we must continue investing in AI, cloud, and blockchain because customers expect things now. And so do creators and gig workers. They want to be paid immediately, which means daily or hourly payroll could actually be a thing. And who knows, maybe daily mortgage payments could be a thing. And why not? Now, COVID actually only accelerated this push towards real time payment infrastructures. At the beginning of 2020, the US Fed's real time payments network only had 19 large institutions. Today, it has 114. And in 2020, India became the global leader in real time payments, in the number of real time payments that were processed. And this is fascinating because a lot of this innovation is coming from outside of the developed world. On that same list, the US was ranked, I believe, at 9 or 10. Another area where real time payments can be a game changer, and frankly, should be a game changer, is the area of remittances. I mean, I remember when I was a poor grad student, I had a very expensive education loan that I had to pay back to the State Bank of India. And it was a multi step process every month where I'd have to draw out cash from the bank because it was more than the ATM limit, walk to the Western Union, send that money over to India, where my dad would take some similar physical steps and make my monthly payment. Obviously, I'm dating myself. However, today, it is encouraging to see that at least this type of friction is no longer there, right? You can now use apps, and you don't have to take cash and walk to different places in order to send money home. However, there's still a lot of work to be done here. I mean, guys, sending money home costs way too much. An average of 7.13% of the transaction value. That's the global average today. And it's a far cry from the UN's target average of 3%. So, needless to say, we have some work to do, right? Payments are eating the world, and there is more and more to be eaten in this space. However, trust me, real time remittances are on the horizon. And I'm very excited about some of the use cases that have started to emerge with cryptocurrencies and stablecoins in this space. So, before I wind up, I'd just like to say that these were some of the ways in which the real-time payments are really transforming our future, and this is all part of our larger Power Plus framework and our conviction that payments truly are not only the connective tissue of the world, they are also the nervous system of the world. And payments are changing, right? They're morphing from that last step at checkout to an invisible and even an enjoyable experience until they eat the world. Thank you very much.